Welcome to another beautiful day here at Haylett RV of Coldwater, Michigan. And given the current world events, we are doing what we can to help provide the most touch-free and curbside service and delivery really possible here. And even though it's a little bit outside our normal routines, we decided that in an effort to help keep each client safe and comfortable, giving them their peace of mind, we would actually go through and kind of record the demonstration and function of this used RV so that, they could buy with confidence from Haylett RV. And obviously, guys, you give us a chance, we'll do the same for you. So I've got with us here Mr. Dwayne Denny today. Dwayne's one of our senior technicians, and we're gonna kind of just jump around the RV and demonstrate the use and function of the various mechanical objects on the RV so that, the person who's buying this, who's never actually gonna set foot here at Haylett RV, they can do so with confidence. So where are we gonna start, Mr. Dwayne?
Well, we're going to start right here on the steps. Guys, these steps fold in and out of the opening. One of the most important things about these steps is that door must be 100% open. That way when the steps come and go, by the way, these steps are assisted. They have a spring that helps them up and down.
It's what we call Rockwood doing Rockwood things. That's why we like having them new here at Haylett RV.
Right here you could see that it could contact the door if the door was over here.
So you got to make sure the door's all the way open. Another thing is, the black part of the step threshold needs to basically be flush with the silver part of the threshold, because if that step is sticking up too far, the door would catch it when it's trying to close, and then obviously you've got collision damage.
And as Josh mentioned, how we get this to set properly is right here with these pins. You would pull this pin and that leg would slide up and down to the appropriate height. Again, on a campsite, don't expect that you have 8 holes out here and 8 holes out here. You might have 6 out and 4 over here to get the steps to set properly.
So right next to the door here, we got this funky horizontal compartment, and there's a handy sticker on it. It says ice maker valve. Guess what's inside of there? Lift that up, and there's a thing right here. It says pull to close. You push to open, and basically that will allow or shut off the water to your ice maker. Pretty simple stuff. All right, the next step forward from that is what, Mr. Dwayne?
What we're going to look at here is there's a switch that says retract and extend, and this switch is regarding the power stab jacks. So we're going to retract them. You can see that they come up on their own. We're going to put them down. We do not use these to level the unit. We would have already previously leveled the unit, and we're going to run these down until they contact. And we're going to stop. That stabilizes the unit. Just
to the point that they get snug. You are not supposed to be lifting the camper with this. Those legs will basically buckle and fail if you try to make the camper do push-ups with them. All right, up to the front of the trailer from there. What do we got, Mr. Dwayne?
Hey guys, what we have here is our LP system hookup, our propane. And to turn a propane tank on and off, it tells you right on the top.
Lefty loosey, righty tighty?
Exactly.
Fantastic. What's this job?
This is our regulator, and what this is, the indicator in the little sight glasses, green means you have pressure off the tank that this little point is pointing at.
Bird's beak. Looks like a bird's beak.
You could rotate it underneath and it would be off this tank. As long as you have green, you have pressure. If it's red, that means that tank is empty.
Oh, easy. So let's say I'm feeding off this tank and the indicator goes red. It will automatically start drawing off the opposite tank, right?
Yes.
Okay, so what do I do then?
To know whether that tank has pressure or not, then you would manually want to change, and it would read then for you.
Okay, and so once I'm pointing over here and that's green, I can go ahead and exchange that tank at my leisure.
At your leisure, without, as Josh likes to say, without any interruption or any air being entered into the system.
No break in service. What do we got up front?
Here we have the power tongue jack. We have our arrows, just simple. That's up, that's down. Right here on top's a little latch. We're going to pop that out, and you're going to see a nut shape in there. What that is for, in case you lose power to the battery on the unit, or God forbid the jack itself fail, there's a wrench goes in here and you just crank it.
And that's just inside. The good news is, guys, manual overrides like that are exceptionally uncommon in terms of how often you need them.
Yes.
Working around the RV, over here between the two slides, this is where we'd have kind of like our hookup area, and this is our water heater. And Mr. Dwayne has a couple of high features to talk about, specifically on the electric side of the gas electric water heater. Go ahead, sir.
Right here, if Josh can get a picture of it, O is off and I is on. So this is where you would turn on the electric part of your water heater. If you have turned it on and it's still not functioning, if you look right here, it says push to reset. There's a couple of resets right there that would do that.
Now, do you just have to like push them real quick and they click, or do you have to hold them for a period?
Normally just push and you'll feel a click.
Okay, so if they need reset, they'll be popped out
Exactly.
and then you click it back into place. Got it.
With this in the off position, the water heater then is strictly LP.
Gotcha. So it's in gas only mode right now, so that if you want to, you can select.
Yep, you would have to come out and select your electric here.
Now this is what's called DSI right here. This is direct spark ignition. That's your igniter for the propane side of the water heater. If it fails to ignite 3 times, the indicator inside will show DSI fault. That means, hey, I failed to light 1, 2, 3 times. I'm shutting off the gas so that I'm not pumping gas into your RV. You need to shut it off, turn it back on after about 30 seconds and let it cycle through. If it continues to not light, try to burn your stove for an extended period to get excess air bubbles out of the lines. And if that continues to not work, then there may be some extra diagnosing. You might have to check your airflow, things like that. It becomes more advanced, and at that point, I think it's best recommended for a phone call.
With all that being said, please do never turn the gas on to your water heater or the electric on to your water heater until you're absolutely sure it's full of water.
How can you check that?
How we check that is you can either pull this slightly, and at this point there's no water in that water heater.
But did you hear that gas escape out of there? Yeah. That would normally be water. Now, keep in mind, guys, if you look up top here, there's a little winged critter taking a look at us. Hot little enclosed spaces like this are where bugs like to congregate. So the little screens that go over these are very, very handy preventative maintenance items. What do we got down here? Outside shower?
We have the outside shower, and it is simply hot and cold running water.
Just like the sink inside, no brain power required here.
As a flow control, so you can have these on fully and still just control how much water flow you have out of the head.
Gotcha. And you can hang it up on that little cleat if you want to. So if you're going to be cleaning some fish or you want to have a hands-free little duck your head down clean station, take a little hillbilly handy shower, you can. Down below that we have
a water hookup. And on this door, if Josh would take a picture of that, it will explain to you what the blue lever is.
Basically, so if you're wanting to winterize the camper, what that does is it turns this into an intake. If you want to use city water hookups, you flip it down. So it tells you, if you're, or rather, this is the tank flush, this is your inlet. I'm sorry, I'm pointing at the wrong thing. Another thing here is you can turn your water pump on outside if you want to, so that you can pump that antifreeze in without ever taking sticky antifreeze inside the camper. Anything I've missed, sir?
Other than you can close and lock this, there's a hose port right here.
Oh, cool. That way you can keep the neighbor kids from messing with your stuff.
Exactly.
Fantastic. All right, now right below that, we have our sewer outlet and low point drains. These low point drains, they're just simply caps. We've cracked that one a little bit. You can see how it's kind of bleeding. If you tighten that back up, obviously that'll quit. When you are wanting to make sure you get all of the water out of the lines, it's called a low point drain because that's the lowest point in the water plane so that water does drip out. Now, you've got a black handle for your black tank, which is your sewer. You got a gray handle for your gray tank, which is going to be your sink and shower stuff. Pretty straightforward, self-explanatory, but don't hesitate to give us a call if you have any questions on something like that. Now, under the rear master bed slide, if Dwayne can point over here, there is this is your fresh water drain. So that's where your freshwater holding tank is located. If you are in a campground, you are bypassing, in theory, you should be anyway, your freshwater holding tank. So you shouldn't have to do this, but if you're going to put the RV away for the season, it's good to make sure that you have that cracked open to once again get all the excess water out of there. All right, so up top here first is the Wi-Fi Ranger. Basically, this RV has a built-in router. You flick the switch on, it turns it on. It's just about that simple. What's neat is these are 12 volt. Now, if you want to learn how to configure these, they've made it so simple. So if you just open the camera on a smartphone, it will pick up that QR code and say, do you want to navigate to this website? And say, sure, and it'll tell you all about it. Now, if you want to set it up, what you can do, if you go to your web browser on your phone, you type in 10.128.9.1:8080, and that will basically log you into the control panel for this system so that from there you can hook it up to all your local Wi-Fi stuff. that is one of those things, again, please reference the videos that Wi-Fi Rangers put out there, because it's very simple and very easy. Just to the left of that, we have the master control panel for this RV. You can see it's doing us a couple things. It's showing, you know, holding tank capacities and whatnot. Right now, we're still going through the final check on this, so some of the tanks are reading more full than they will, you know, when you take it home. But there's one important thing to remember on this panel. Like, if I just walk over here and I start pushing buttons, it doesn't do anything. You have to hold this, and then you hear beep, beep, beep. That will turn all of this off and on. So nobody can just walk up and mess with your slides, your water heater, your water pump, that kind of stuff. You have to manually walk over here and turn that thing off and on. Have I missed anything over here, Mr. Dwayne?
We're just going to do the water pump right now just to show you when the function is on, the light is lit.
Oh, simple.
When the water pump's off, the light's off.
Similar with your 12-volt tank heating pads. That is where you would activate it, right there.
Yep. The only thing that doesn't have a light would be your slide room in and slide room out, but you will obviously know your slide's either moving in or out depending on which button you're touching. Power Control Center.
All right, tell us all about her.
Power Control Center, how this works really quickly. The breakers, these guys here, are the 110 side. These guys here, which we call spade fuses, are the 12-volt side. Everything is listed out inside of this box.
So if you want to make sure you have your fridge on or off for service reasons or something, this is where you could do all that. Basically, if this was a house, you would call that your breaker box.
Exactly.
All right. What's this guy right next to us over here?
This guy next to us right here is a fireplace.
Electric space heat and fireplace.
Exactly.
Now, what Dwayne's doing here is an easy thing to miss. It has two on-offs. What he did is he turned off the master, or he just turned on the master on switch, and then once that's on, you can turn the system on and off right there, either via remote control or from the buttons on the face.
Right.
So it has a hard power disconnect button. There you go. So when that's off, even if you push the other on-off button, it ain't gonna do nothing. Now right there was a very brief residual charge remaining. Don't let that freak you out. Just turn the switch back on, hit the on button, good to go. You can see that it's got its own little heat output indicator in the upper right. You can turn the display on off there. You can turn you know, the heat on or off and have a pretend fire going with or without heat. Now, as we come up here, you can see all the remote controls from the previous owners. They're all handy. I don't believe we need to tell you how to operate, you know, like the on-off button and a channel scan on a TV. But if you do have questions on any of that, please don't hesitate to let us know.
Right here, it's just directional for your antenna. You push up and rotate. And when you let down, it gears and it'll lock it in that position, whichever direction it's pointed.
Now, do we have to worry about any kind of travel position or anything like that?
On this one, it'll tell you right here. It says right here, rotate completely that direction for travel.
There you go. That way the fins are facing the right way for air resistance purposes.
Exactly.
Gotcha. What's next?
Just quickly, there's a vent, no power.
Just to let some extra light and or air through.
Yep. We're going to hit a safety thing or two right now. We got a smoke detector here, 9-volt battery. Recommend replace it once a year. That is not wired into the system.
That meaning that feeds off its own separate battery.
Yes.
Okay, what about the other multi-detector?
The other multi-detector here, the LP carbon monoxide detector, is wired directly into the system, and it has a totally different sound than a smoke detector. When this goes off, we don't want to ask why. We just go out and shut the LP off. We showed you where to do that. Or carbon monoxide could set this off. Biggest culprit for that would be your furnace. And Josh just showed you on your water heater, wasps love these spaces. Wasps could build a nest in the exit here, in the exhaust to your furnace, and cause CO2 to come back in. Again, we recommend bug screens. This will also chirp, because it is wired into your 12-volt system. It will chirp and beep at you if the 12-volt battery is getting low. That's just telling you you're running out of power. You need to do something. These also have a shelf life. It might be a year, it might be 2 years, but it does have a life. It's got a printed date on it. If it continuously chirps, that means it needs to be replaced.
And those are right off the shelf kind of items.
Exactly.
They're 2 screws, 2 wires. It's you know, red to red, black to black. Nothing complicated about that.
Here you have a GFI, which what a GFI is. It basically, if you were here running water and you had a hairdryer here and dropped it in the water, stops you from getting electrocuted.
And, you know, possibly prevents, you know, horrific losses, fires.
Yeah.
What about this extra switch I'm looking at right here?
Okay, what this guy is, it's going to tell you, this is your inverter, okay?
And that is specifically for the refrigerator on this
Yes.
RV. When you don't have 110 power hookup, correct?
Yes. And we're going to... The light's very faint. Can you see it?
Yep.
It's on.
No, it's coming through pretty clear.
Okay. Be very clear about this. And Josh, I believe, has videos on this. This is not going to run your refrigerator for multiple hours. You remember, you're taking a car battery, that 12-volt electricity, and turning it back into 110. It's not going to run very long.
Basically,
If
you're
out
asking
boondocking.
small electricity to do big electricity jobs, and it can only do it for a short amount of time. Kind of like I can lift heavy weights, but not very many times. You know, I can do small weights more times than big weights. Now, you want to run that inverter when you're traveling to give the refrigerator function, correct?
Exactly.
And if you're going to be boondocking, you're going to need serious solar and or generator to be able to run this thing. So this is going to be more of a park use feature.
That's where we were headed. Well, Josh is here. Air conditioner's here. Inside of these elongated compartments are 2 filters. When those look dusty, grungy, you need to clean those, rinse them out in warm soapy water, and reinstall them. We like to say that those are like your furnace filter at your house. I can't tell you how often they're going to need to be cleaned, but you will know.
It'll depend on the air quality in your area. If it's dustier, got to clean them more. Pretty straightforward.
We're going to step back to our range. On this guy, I'm going to fold. This is a countertop extension or workspace.
You do not cook on top of the glass. You fold the glass out of the way, correct?
You do not cook on it. Okay, one question frequently asked, is this a knife holder or is it a vent?
Considering they're different shaped slots, I would imagine that is actually a knife holder.
Exactly.
Ha-ha!
We're getting there. We have an igniter here. We're just going to push. You'd probably hear it click. You may not. It's just like on your grill. You would select a burner, and it shows you that to light, high, and
we don't have the propane turned on.
The propane
currently.
is not turned on.
Now that does not ignite the oven in this case, correct?
No, this one does not. This one takes a match. You would rotate it, hold it in at the pilot.
Oh, okay. Yep. So show us
Right
that
here.
again. So we turn it to pilot on, push it in, and hold it in. And if the propane's turned on, that will actually allow the flow of gas through the system down here.
To be lit right back here.
And the best thing to do is get one of those really long, like barbecue grill lighters,
Yes, sir.
and hold it down there. Now, once you see the flame, you're going to keep this held in for a minute, and then you're going to slowly release. And once it stays lit, you're good. Your pilot's lit, and then you can just turn it to whatever, you know, roughly desired temperature you're seeking. Anything else on the front end here before we move our way around?
The refrigerator itself.
Oh, yeah.
Just right here. It's kind of hidden on how you set your temperatures.
Except the good news is it's very simple. You see, and everything is push and hold. There's, you know, push to hold to turn off on. You can tell it quick ice, which basically means recharge your ice maker real fast. We showed you where that disconnect was outside. Same thing with your water filter, and right here where you can set your refrigerator and freezer temps. It's all very digital, very simple, very straightforward. And other than that, it's just a nice wide open refrigerator with a lower freezer. Very cool, very trendy. Ice maker in the bottom section right there, by the way. But all very straightforward, and you can see, obviously, very nice and clean. This has a really nicely equipped multi-function theater seat right here. So there's power functions, there's heat massage, and you just touch to activate it, and if it's lit up, then it's working. It's just that simple. The massage you can't hear, but when you're sitting in it, you'll feel it buzzing. Your recline is actually like a ripcord style, which is over here on the side. And then it has a pair of these handy little removable side stands that just slot into these little things right here, and you can push them down a little bit more to lock them in place. But, you know, if you want to sit down and have a dinner plate or a drink or something like that while you're watching TV on, you know, Boardwalk and Park Place directly across from you, got a handy little spot to do it there. Then for travel, obviously, just make sure it's put away like Mr. Dwayne just did for us right here. All right, stepping over here into the bathroom. Up top, we've got our fan, and just like Mr. Dwayne did, very, very simple. Right here, it says fan on, 1, 2, 3, 4, because it's multi-speed. And man, these things put out some serious airflow. Now, remember, you do need to open the crank because you have 2 different vent lids going on. You have the crank up vent lid, but you notice as I crank that up how you can see it going from darker to lighter. That's because there is a max air vent cover on top of that. What's nice is you can pretty much leave this open most of the time. I do recommend closing it for long-term storage though. But when you get to your campsite, you can pretty much just leave it open, turn the fan off and on as you please. Now down here, the toilet works a little different than you would normally have at your house. When it's just sitting there, you want to leave just a pinch of water on it, just to kind of keep that little circle covered. The water is actually acting like a second seal. You've got a rubber seal, and then the water is acting as a way to prevent backflow of odor from the holding tank. Now, when you're going to actually use the toilet, one of the things you want to do is you got your foot pedal over here. You want to depress that pedal partially so that the water starts flowing, but the trap doesn't open yet. The water will flow before the trap opens. You want to get a couple inches of water in there, do your business, and then you're going to depress the pedal completely to the floor, which will flush water and open the trap. I'm not demonstrating that right now because the pink indicates this is still winterized. I don't want to remove the protection from the lines at this point. But you will want to leave that flowing for about 5 seconds, and then take your foot off, and the little bit of water will again act as a miniature kind of seal right there. And you want to always make sure that you're providing a nice flush of water, so that you don't allow the solid mass to build up, so that it's traveling with a liquid mass, and you don't have a buildup, which is what we call the pyramid, which is terrible. Now, one more thing here in the bathroom, looking at it from the other direction. I want to point out this little traveling clip right here. When you are going down the road, you want to make sure this is clipped so that the doors can't accidentally jiggle open. Because if they start sliding around, obviously they're going to build up a lot of energy and smash into things, and God forbid they could break. Now, this is safety glass, but it'd still be a billion little pieces you got to clean up. The cool thing is you see this little black strip right there. It's actually magnetic, so that when you're in it, it will kind of hold itself pretty good, so that if you're in the shower and your elbow bumps the door, it doesn't just go cracking open and spilling water everywhere. So that's a handy little thing. Now, moving from there into the bedroom is really just a smaller version of the living room we've already been in. There's nothing too major to have to talk about in here. The bed does have gas struts that are easy lift, if you could give me a hand there, or two as it were, Mr. Dwayne. Now notice how he really reached under there. You want to make sure you grab the actual bed base, or Rockwood's kind enough to give you a handy little handle right there. I always like to use my hands in the middle of it though. I don't like to lift and lower these things off to one side. I've always felt that if I just push down on this side, I'm stressing the struts in a different fashion. I can cause twisting, and theoretically you could see damage there. I've only seen it once in my career in 11 years, but I have seen that. Now, if you could open one of these giant drawers for us, Mr. Dwayne, something to keep in mind. Huge drawer. You can put a ton of stuff in here, but you see how it's just kind of really hanging out there. It's like 2 feet deep, hanging over nothing but thin air. I do recommend putting lighter things in these drawers, and I do recommend only opening one all the way at a time. I also recommend always keeping your hand kind of on that handle to help support it, especially if you are going to put heavy stuff in it. Beyond that, everything in here pretty straightforward. I mean, you just got drawers and plugs, but kind of like the shower, your closet, for traveling, you do want to make sure that you have these clips secured. Like, you want to make sure that you don't leave that door open, because if it's able to slide around in transit, it only takes one time of smashing and it will cause issues. The good news is it kind of automatically clips itself. Anything else in here? Oh, the emergency exit window. Let's make sure we talk about that.
The emergency exit window, how these guys work is we are going to push the red lever towards the window, pick it up, rotate it out 90 degrees, and push, and you would push that completely out of the unit and remove the screen, and out you go head first normally.
In an emergency situation, you would actually push that red tab all the way through so the window can totally flap open. Now, the cool thing is, if you let go of that, there's a little clip right there. So you can use this thing for some excellent bedroom airflow. But just to kind of demonstrate that now that we're up a little more closely, very simple. Push back, lift up, rotate, push. Now, this screen right here, you see these little red tabs. In an emergency situation, you just yank that. This screen would come out. You could get out of there. I hope you folks never have to worry about that. I don't personally know anyone who knows anyone that had to do that. But God forbid. Actually, one of the things Mr. Dwayne will tell people when they are normally going through an orientation here is any educated fire professional will tell you, If, God forbid, there is a fire in your camper, don't try to be a hero. Get you and your family, get the living creatures inside of this RV out of this RV. Don't try to fight the fire. Unfortunately, it sounds terrible, but just let it go. Get yourselves safe and let a professional handle that.
Exactly.
So that should give you a good idea that everything is in good working order here, as we've shown. If you have any other questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to your little Haylett RV guide, or really anybody here, because that's one of the nice things at Haylett RV. We all pick up the phone, we all help as best as we are able, so that, you know, you have a good, positive camping experience. So as always, take care, stay safe, have fun, and happy Haylett camping in your new Rockwood RV.